Welcome, brave listeners, to the Next Level podcast, the podcast that will push your business to the next level. And today's episode, we're going to have a great conversations about money. And I'm here with Katarina. Thank you so much for being here, Katarina.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and not just like any money, government monies, right? And that's I think better to spend. And I'm here with Karen, the president of File&Claim, a leading firm helping business owners across Canada access grants, subsidies, and non-dilutive funding. Karen SR&ED Consulting has over 15 years of experience in working with clients in various industries, obtain SR&ED and other government grants, with a career that started in searching fundings in the education industry. Now I've been an instrumental in navigating various government programs and their technical intricacies. Don't worry, I'm going to cut that later. So thank you for being here, Karen.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, Kat. It's lovely to be here.
Awesome. And Karen, I would like to please introduce a little bit yourself about what you do in your daily routine so people can understand there's lots of opportunities in the air and they're not taking.
Sure. A little bit about me and where I come from with grant funding. I actually came from an education background, studied to be a teacher, and got involved with funding with the Ontario government, supporting children with different abilities in the classroom with a variety of different funding programs. And from there, actually, my brother was an entrepreneur at the time, still is, and I started supporting his startups, as well as like family and friends started reaching out, and then I was able to establish KSO grants. I'm in my own community. I joined my local board of trade, which I know you're now a member of as well, and started building from there. And now I get to help Canadian businesses as well as American businesses with a variety of different funded programs, tax credits. Yeah.
So there's money in the air, right? And people are not taking. And
Sure.
let's try to dive in and make them aware that how can they could grab this money.
Sure.
So my first question to you is, when should you actually start thinking about grants?
Sure. I think there's never too early of a time or too late of a time to engage with grants. Even if you have just an idea and you're just starting out, you're a young professional, have this amazing idea and you're looking for support. So the government offers a variety of different programs to support at that stage. And then if you are, an established business and maybe you're looking to do some innovation within your company or some changes, especially, during these times of, uncertainties for some,
Yeah.
it's good to pivot and think about innovation. There's a lot of different programs that are also available if you are an established enterprise as well. So there's never really too early or too late of a time to familiarize yourself with funding.
And sorry.
Are you focused mostly on government grants and different types of tax credits from the Canadian and provincial governments?
Yes. So we mainly at File&Claim, our client base is Canadian companies or those that have subsidiaries. So they could be companies that are overseas, but they come to Canada and they open up like a sister company here. So we also support them. And then as well as into the States too, with different R&D tax credits.
I would say in times of uncertainties, lots of opportunities happens, right?
Yes.
And opportunities that has to start to push people to think a little bit outside of the box. And the first thing that they have to check, it's their budget. It's the money that they have, right?
Yes.
And that's where come out like some opportunities about grants and fundings. And I know because I did my little homework, there's some grants opportunities for expansion, right, Karen?
Yes. So in these times, the government has responded with different funding. They've actually put another $1 billion towards the SR&ED program. There really is no minimum because SR&ED is written in the Income Tax Act, meaning that if you're involved in an R&D project of any size, no matter how small or how big, the government will give you back and pay you out for those efforts, because it is written in the Income Tax Act, meaning that it's not like other grants or funded programs. It's actually an opportunity that will always be around as long as there's businesses that are paying taxes. You can definitely take advantage of SR&ED. And then there's definitely other programs you can build on from there. If you're looking for expansion, say you're manufacturing, FedEv is a great program for that. Maybe that's the one you're thinking about. And also response, like in Ontario, the OCI Center, and other provinces, they have similar, like in Quebec, it's Research to Quebec.
Can you explain what some of those ones are? You're using acronyms and names that a lot of people may not be familiar with.
Sorry, we are used with that.
Yeah, Ontario Centre for Innovation, I work with them very closely because a lot of our clients at File&Claim who are doing SR&ED with us, we also pair that, and we think of grants as more of like a holistic approach. So I, with all of my knowledge and experience in grants, I also support our clients with a variety of other programs. And the Ontario Centre for Innovation has really two sectors to it. There is the, investment funds, diluted funds opportunity where they'll invest in your company for a small portion. But then they also have this other side to them that offers different grants, whether you're in manufacturing, mining, health, life science, all those different industries. So there's a lot of different programs that are available right now that pair nicely with SR&ED as well.
I wonder if what we could do is talk about different types of companies and when and how they might be able to approach for grants or other types of supports.
Sure.
And how that might tie in with angel investing or venture capital investing. Maybe that's the best place to start, is just sort of breaking it down and saying, are there three different types of companies that we can maybe talk about? So for example, maybe tech companies that are new or newer. Maybe there's established more manufacturing companies or service-based companies. And then there's more established companies that might fall into a different bucket somehow. Or is that a way that you would divide?
Yeah, so we have clients that range from all those industries that we support with, of course, SR&ED first, and then we lead into other funding. So I think if you're tech, there's a lot of misconceptions too about different programs and when you can utilize them, because there are some larger funding programs like the FedEv that looks great if you're going to commercialization.
FedEv being federal development.
Yes. But for a startup, it's harder to obtain that program. So you have to look at that more of a strategic plan. And that's why, you engage with those professionals like, myself or others that are in that funding world that can really guide you of when is the best time to take advantage of different programs. If it's a tech company, there's a lot of misconceptions about the SR&ED program initially, because a lot of them think that if I'm pre-revenue, although I might have expenses, I don't qualify. That's a lot of misconception with a lot of funding, is that if I don't have revenues, then there's nothing available to me. And if you don't know a lot about the funding world, from the outside, it does look like that, because most of the larger funding is going to those more established companies, but doesn't mean that you shouldn't approach those bodies and discuss your idea with them, and be open to the idea of the supports, right? And I think that's where a lot of businesses need to be open to the idea of working with someone like a consultant like File&Claim or myself to support really navigating that complexity of the funding world. So tech companies, definitely a great landscape is always, if you're doing something innovative, get on that SR&ED trail. And then from there, we can pair other complementary programs that are available even if you're pre-revenue. Like for a tech company, the next sort of step would be looking at probably IRAP, because a lot of people care.
So let me just, because I think the viewers may not necessarily know this. SR&ED is SR&ED is not SHR, but it's SR&ED.
Yeah, so I'll explain a little bit more about SR&ED. So SR&ED is the Scientific Research and Experimental Development Tax Incentive Program. So it did come out in the 80s. It did have a different name at the time. A lot of my colleagues, both in the accounting side and our tech side, have 20 to 30 years experience working with the program. And it does offer an opportunity for companies of any size to recover money spent on their R&D efforts.
Including wages,
if you're starting out and you're a founder, if you're paying yourself on a T4, you could be looking at around, in Ontario.
T4 being the income tax.
Yes, paying yourself as an employee. If you put yourself on a payroll and think of it strategically, you could be getting back 70% of your salary.
Yeah.
And if you are a startup and you're pre-revenue, you're actually looking at cash back. So it's not just like tax credits. When you're pre-revenue, you get, 99.9% of it back as, cash back to the company. And then that can fuel you forward the next year for your innovation, putting yourself on payroll or opening up to the idea to having others on payroll, right? And that's a program that founders, when they're starting out, should really look at taking advantage of. And you can take advantage of it annually, even if your project spans more than one fiscal year.
Yeah.
You can be on it for multiple years in a row and have multiple different SR&ED projects within the one company. So that's definitely a program that's going to support.
And then you mentioned IRAP after that. So what does IRAP do? What's the name of IRAP? Who offers that?
Yes. So IRAP is a federal program. So a lot of our clients do pair the SR&ED program with IRAP funding. Some of them are actually doing IRAP beforehand because maybe they weren't aware that they could start taking advantage of
And what is
SR&ED
the
first.
IRAP funding?
So IRAP funding is to support with your innovation, but it's to support hiring additional tech people, right? Or whatever your industry is. It's for bringing on extra supports.
I can't remember where IRAP came from. Is that National Research
It's
Council?
NRC, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's a program that pairs really well. And you can still use SR&ED with other funding programs. That's another sort of misunderstanding or misconception. Is I was actually speaking with a research scientist yesterday, and he was trying to say, well, is it either or? Can I get, just SR&ED or just, the funding from Ontario Innovation Center? And I said, no, you pair them and you stack them, right? That's a lot of misunderstandings too, is that there's an opportunity to pair and match these programs. And if you were to go after, if you were looking for extra tech support and you were going to pair it, then whatever is out of pocket that IRAP wasn't covering, you can then write it off for the SR&ED program. So they pair really nicely together as well. They're very complementary. And then as you move forward and, you have your product and you're going more into commercialization, then there's additional, probably what you're seeing more like interest-free loan opportunities that there's a vast array of them, but they look, when you're starting out, of course, you look at those and you think, okay, that's the dream. That's where I want to be. I want that large funding, but it is good to start, like humble yourself a little bit and say, okay, what's realistic for me? And then build on that roadmap of funding forward. But I think it is intimidating for a lot of founders too, right?
Yeah. And sorry.
So many moving parts is all I was going to say. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I would say let's start with the preparation, because I think lots of misconceptions or misunderstanding about all those programs is starting from the beginning.
Yes.
Because where's the best time to approach you? Let's say I'm a founder and I'm starting something, but I'm not a project manager. So I will start whatever I have, whatever, all information's all around.
Yes.
So should I gather all informations and then reach you, or you guys, or it's best option like first reach you, so now I have more prepared to have everything right? I don't know. Yes,
yeah, for sure. So if we're talking, when you're starting to think about programs that could fund you from the beginning. So with SR&ED, we actually like to engage our clients before the project has even begun.
Beautiful.
Because we want to help them keeping track of like timesheets, progress on the R&D efforts and things like that. So come year end, when we do work with you to file it, because it is filed along with your regular corporate business tax filings, we want to make sure that we've supported you all along and that we can really maximize on your claim and also help you structure your business, which is what our tax team does, so that you can better maximize on these programs. And then we can also spot other funding programs. So we look at SR&ED and our clients in more of like a holistic approach to funding in general. Of course, we want to support SR&ED and maximize that, but we also want to see you succeed. So we want to also pair other funding programs that will work well with, the SR&ED program, but also with your goals, right? So that's what our efforts are put towards, is we would really love to engage when you're at that idea stage. The good thing is even if you wait, a year and then you're like, oh, I just found out, maybe someone listening is like, oh, I just found out about this program. What am I going to do now? because it is a retroactive, so you're looking back at fiscal years. Right now, we would have an opportunity to look back as far as almost 2 fiscal years, depending on your year end. So 18 months or 2 fiscal years, we can actually look back and say, okay, you had these, you had a contract, you had a Canadian contract you were using to build your tech or whatever that looks like for the company. We can actually go back and capture those. So we do have time with the program, which is nice. And again, unlike other grant programs too that have competition, there is a lot of people that are applying for these programs. As long as we can prove that it was a viable project and you're creating new knowledge, advancements in science or technology, the government's going to be supporting you because they see you have something innovative, and they want to support that growth in Canada, right? It's going to create jobs and, put us higher just in a global stance, right? To make sure that we're competitive, right? As Canadians, that's the whole program, is why they're supporting it, is that we can be competitive on the world stage as well.
Beautiful. And about this changes, now I got curious. Probably,
Yes.
I know you and your team, Ronaldo.
Yes.
And do you believe now, after those few tough months that we had a few months ago,
Yes.
is there any change, or you're feeling like any sort of like extra support or extra push for the entrepreneurs, like the business person that were building the Canadian economy? Is there any sort of move or extra help or something like that?
Yes. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of more funding being put towards various programs. For example, in December, before our government, went a little bit of array, there was announcements that capital assets for companies would actually start being put back into something that's claimed. So that's reverting back to 2024 when you could claim for capital assets. So a lot of our clients that are pharmaceutical or nutraceutical and purchase large equipment specifically just for R&D, it hasn't been written in stone yet, but we're looking for that finalization so that they can also start looking at capital assets that they could actually claim, which would be huge for a lot of companies if they could write off, and be getting back 50% of those purchases. That's huge for companies, right? And it's huge for innovation in general in Canada, that it would, spark more growth, spark more, people wanting to take more risks, right? If they know that there's more supports. And that's why they put additional funding for the program too. They announced after tariffs, et cetera, there's a whole bunch of other programs that got refunded. Can Export got a lot of additional funding. So that's a great program too if companies are looking to pivot to new markets. Can Exports provides grants for that as well, for exploring new international markets.
Does EDC provide anything?
Yeah, so there's a lot of supports from them.
Okay.
Actually, I work with them, and I also work with the Ontario Economic Development Department, because there's a lot of supports as well through them. If you are wanting to go on a trade mission, actually the government is covering about 70% of the cost to go on a lot of different trade missions. So that's also huge.
That's huge.
So I've actually advised a lot of our clients, various different fields. We have food and beverage, we have tech companies, we have a lot of pharmaceutical and nutraceutical companies too that are expanding or we're already thinking of it. So I've reached out to a lot of our clients too, and I'm setting them up with the Ontario government as well, because that's huge to cover that amount of cost, right? When there's a lot of other markets, particularly like right now, the Asian market is really interested in our products, especially our natural products or our nutraceutical products. They're very interested. So this opens that door for the supports for our Canadian companies to grow and be innovative, right? And grow us on an international level as well. So it's lovely. It's lovely to see. And there's tons of supports right now. It's just about accessing someone who can guide you with some knowledge. So that's really the key. It's just, as you're building a business, you're actively in the business, right? You're just focusing on being in the business and not working from the outside, like on the business, right? So it's good to have advisors, consultants, extra supports that we can offer this guidance for you, right? And a lot of my clients, when we're helping them with SR&ED, and I start to know their their roadmap of where they're going, what they're investing in, what they want to do, what their future goals are, then I'm that voice to be like, hey, you know, why don't we look at this? And a lot of them are like super surprised that all of these supports are available to them.
I never thought about it, right?
Yeah. Or just they're so focused on their innovation and their growth that it's hard to put your head up and like, you know, and see other things, which is amazing opportunity that I get to support a lot of really startups. We work with startups, but I also get to support a lot of like established enterprises. And it's amazing to get to be able to support them and see their growth and know you had a little bit of
participation, right?
Yeah, I had a little bit of participation in that, right? And you kind of want to, you know, you're cheering your entrepreneurs on and supporting them in different realms, not just with SR&ED, of course, but just, you know, in general with their growth. It's just awesome.
I have a question to you.
Of course.
I probably, like, you and your team, I really would love to hear like some stories, some backstage stories. Like what's
Sure.
the biggest mistake
Yes.
business owners make when they're applying for funds?
Okay.
You know, like those
Yes,
cases.
biggest mistakes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. So really something like working with SR&ED in particular. So you're working with the CRA, right? So the Canadian Revenue Agency. That's who's paying the businesses out. So when you're working with the CRA, you do have to tread lightly. And that's why we do have a full team of the full technical team. We have many engineers, many scientists on our team. And then we also have a full tax team because behind the scenes, so does the CRA, right? So I have a lot of companies who come to me and say, I felt like I had a viable project, right? But the way you presented it to the CRA, they didn't see that new knowledge, which is on our team. Our engineers have, 2 decades, 3 decades sometimes of experience working with the CRA. So if you go to apply for the program on your own, you're looking at about like a 60% success rate. If you partner with an established firm who really understands the CRA, we have a 99% success rate. And that's because, not to like brag, it's just because we advise our clients, if we don't think it's a go this year, let's hold off. Because this is going to be an opportunity that you could use year after year. If we don't think the project is there yet, let's wait. So we don't have like a sour taste with the CRA, right? We want to lead with our best foot forward. And we want to also, support our companies being able to take advantage of it year after year, right? And once you're in, then you're sort of in. There might be a chance you might get a review. Our team is there to support and help you through that review too. But once you're in with them, then this is a program, you can start doing. It bodes well if you're wanting to look for other funding programs too. Like if you do want to go after IRAP or additional funding, because it's validating that you have something innovative, right? And then we can add on other supports because the government sees, okay. And then even if you are looking for, some companies just want to bootstrap and just want to make it on their own. But if you are also looking for anyone to invest, then that also bodes well, right? You're showing that you can self-fund in a regard, right? And you can propel yourself forward. And then that'll be more attractive too, if you're looking for that.
It's here where strategy came to the table, right? Okay, let's think about that, about those thinking moments that are like most of, at least the companies that I work with or I have connections with, they're so into operations that we're talking about, and they are not thinking about their company.
Yes.
They are
and they can't educate themselves about all the things that are happening
Absolutely.
and all the nuances of it.
Yeah.
Because they start at 8 or 9, whatever, they end at 5 and they are done.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But there's so many other things that they have to now start to think in their business, right? And this where I completely agree with you. Like consultants play that role beautifully, and but I think the goal for next level that we are trying to build the momentum here, it's allow their business owners starts to think in their business, not just to make more money. Of course, that's the end goal for everybody. But okay, how can I grow?
Yes.
But not just money-wise, say. How can I provide more solutions to my customers, whatever, right? And use that particular part of the strategy related to grants to put that into my plan.
Yes.
right? So
And it creates a lot of leverage. Like if you can get more resources without diluting ownership.
Yes.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
And or banks. It's
Gives you more control too.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to have that, and then you don't get stuck in a place where you are desperate for additional funding or additional supports, right? It's nice when a business is starting and if they have this wonderful innovative idea, and if they want to take it all the way, it's nice that they can, realize that the government is going to support. It's just strategic planning. And then you're not going to get stuck, right? If you're aware of what programs are out there, then you can use them strategically. But with thinking about funding, you should always know what your plan is and use funding as like also a bonus. Sometimes a lot of companies might desperately rely on it, and with SR&ED, like that is something that you can rely on because there's no competition, etc. But if you're thinking about other funding too, you should also have your plan of how am I going to do it even if I don't win that grant, right? Because other than SR&ED, which is really no competition other than yourself and making sure that we're proving that there's new knowledge here, right? But if you go to look at other funding, not to be intimidated by it, but there is competition. And then on the flip side of that is there's a lot of programs like IRAP who favor businesses that have about 5 employees, have revenue and things like that. But every year they're allocated to so much in their budget. So you can look at that every year they're going to support a few startups as well who maybe have no one on a payroll. I actually have a client that I pushed to go and speak with the IRAP representative in Toronto, and they did. And they actually were awarded funding. And everybody else was like, how did you do that? And I just say, like, believe in if you know that what you have is innovative and you believe in your idea, then go after those things you might think are not obtainable. Like, take a risk, go and talk to the government bodies and see, maybe they're going to support you, right? Because what you're doing is really innovative or essential. There's also certain industries that they're more favorable at times, right? But always just go after that. Ask questions, put yourself in rooms with people that have more knowledge than you, right? Take those risks. Don't be afraid to go and talk with them and find out the supports that are available.
For companies in Ontario, there used to be a lot of events where people could go, entrepreneurs could go, different types of entrepreneurs could go to get this information at presentations. And of course, that doesn't replace people like you that are actually really focused on this and doing the work and can add consulting value. But just for people to start educating themselves, are there events around Toronto or Ontario or Canada or whatever?
Yeah, so there are some events you might go to. Some of them are like hidden secrets, to be honest. And
a lot of times they are.
Like the knowledge that I share with a lot of my clients, I feel like it should be like public knowledge, especially if you're building a business. But I find if you're starting out, of course, come to us for SR&ED. But other than that, really get to know your local small business center, right? Or even your commerce, right? Your board of trade or your commerce in your area. I always advise businesses when they come to me and they're just starting out, even if you're, an established enterprise, there's nothing wrong with knowing your resources, right? And meeting other businesses.
And just the networking at the chambers of commerce or other networking groups can be very, very powerful.
For sure. When I started out too, that's where I met my initial clients, right? Like I was working on digital grants before, and that's where I met my initial clients, was just being personable, taking those risks, talking to people, and then building your network from there, for sure. But find your local small business center as well, because there's a lot of grants that are through your local small business centers too, which can be really helpful and people are just not aware of. They also offer free supports like business planning, things like that. Ontario government, across Canada, we have Futurepreneur, right, as a loan program, but they offer supports up to 2 years after you're done with a loan with them, and you have a mentor, someone who has experience in your field, in your industry, that you can turn to for the next 2 years, and then they'll probably stick with you, for your whole business life cycle. You get to build those relationships. There's definitely opportunities out there, and just explore them and feel free to reach out to the resources, and reach out to me too, because I'll help you. I'll guide you along the way, because can be really intimidating.
I was thinking here, lots of opportunities, like to people. But again, action, right? People have to take action and go to those places and visit and
build the relationships.
And build a relationship. It's a proactive exercise, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, lots of opportunities. Karen, another good question, because you mentioned it's like sometimes it's kind of hiding secrets.
Yes.
But I want to ask you,
Yes.
what one of those, like one grant that you wish more business knew more about it?
Of course, I have to say SR&ED.
Yeah, I know.
Of course, I have to
I
answer
know.
with that. But to be honest, I started out with grants not in the SR&ED world, right? And there was a lot of other consulting firms that I would send clients to, and it was like this lack of knowledge. They would come back and be like, "I'm not sure if I qualify. I'm not," and I'm like, "But I sent you to a consultant, right, to talk about that." And I think that's the piece that's missing a lot, is just like that education and someone taking the time to really want to spend that time educating businesses, startups, etc. Just really educating them. Even I have established enterprises, and they're not aware of the different programs, right? Because they're just so focused on developing the next product or building the team and things like that. But there's supports for them as well, right?
Oh, they're moving to Canada and they have to learn how to play the game here.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I have a lot of clients who are coming from overseas and establishing themselves in Canada, either with subsidiaries or opening up their own Canadian businesses with through the CRA, which you register your business through. And I help them too, just navigating the waters of a new country, right? And making those connections, not just with grant funding, but I actively always tell them, go out, go to your small business center, go join your local board of trade. At least they'll always give you a couple of free visits. You never know what connections you might make in the funding world, or even other supports that might be out there through making those steps. And you just have to believe in yourself, believe in your vision, believe in what you're building, and take those steps. And don't be afraid to ask me questions or ask other advisors questions, right? So we've all been there. We've all started out somewhere. So it's good to have supports to turn to ask questions.
Beautiful. At least to challenge themselves, right? So, okay, this is the homework for you. If you're building something, don't do it alone.
Yes,
Ask for
sure.
help.
I think
right?
when I come from a family of entrepreneurs, my dad was an entrepreneur, and then later he wasn't, but he did start as an entrepreneur. My brother's an entrepreneur, and I remember when he was starting out, he always said, "I surround myself with smarter people. Like, I want to be the person in the room with the least knowledge," right? And now, he buys and sells business across Canada, and he has amazing partners. He's very knowledgeable. He's very smart himself, but he also knew that I need to surround myself with people who have more knowledge, more experience than I do. And there's nothing wrong. All of us should think that way, right? No matter where we are. You're always building. Think of who you could surround yourself with, and then take those leaps of faith, take those risks, and talk to the people, and don't be afraid to ask for supports, because that's the lovely thing about being in Canada, is that there are supports that the Canadian government is offering.
And generous ones.
Totally generous ones.
I mean, the innovation centers.
For sure.
Yeah, there's so many different organizations and financial supports and things like that. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
At all levels of government.
And this is how it works, right? This is how economy works. Because if you have a business, I understand you want to sell your product. I understand you want to thrive and grow your company, but you're not going to do that alone. You're going to need help. And Karen has a very good business. She has a business that help other business owners. So if you understand that you can get Karen support to grow your business, you're not making your life good. You're making the Karen's business good as well. Not just her, but she's gonna have to buy something for something else. And this is how the economy works. And if you has this mindset, no, I only want the money for me. I want to save money. I want to spend the money in my way. You're not helping to build a good Canada. Sorry, right? This is how it works.
Yeah, there's also a lot of fears too, I find, with a lot of startups, if they are coming from other countries as well and establishing themselves here in Canada. Even with businesses that are even with starting Canadian businesses here, there's a lot of worry about different programs, including the SR&ED, because with SR&ED, there's a lot of like misconceptions that you have to give your secret sauce to the CRA, right? They're going to know all my innovation.
Talk more about that.
Yes, which is not the case, right? What you have to do is, of course, you have to have that documentation, right, to back up in case there was an audit. But even if they would come out to do an audit, you don't have to divulge everything. It's just what you're actually presenting them is a very short write-up, and which is what our team assists with, is this very short write-up that does get attached with your regular business tax filings. And within that write-up, we just have to explain, the challenge you were facing, the technological barrier or challenge that you were facing, your hypothesis, what you thought was going to happen, how we went about doing it, and then how the fiscal year ended, right? Sometimes that project might wrap up in that fiscal year. Sometimes it might not. But there is this fear that I have to display everything to the CRA, and that's not the case. So all of your documents do not get submitted to them. We review them as a team with our engineer. Of course, we have an NDA that we sign off. But that is one of those misconceptions, is that I don't want to be giving away. And then even with working with programs like the Ontario Centre for Innovation, a lot of the companies that I run into, if I'm helping them with SR&ED and then we're talking about other funding opportunities, they have sort of a conception that they have to give away part of their company, because there is that element to it, but you do have a choice of which stream you're going to, right? So that's also something that a lot of businesses are it's like a new light of like, okay, they're not going to want to, be taking my business or taking my ideas. I have had a lot of clients that, especially some Canadians, but some that are coming internationally, and they worry about that. If I'm going to sign up and I'm going to
reveal the secret sauce.
Yes, they don't want, CRA taking their secret sauce, because they might have had those experiences elsewhere. But here it's a different landscape, and the government is really here to support those businesses establishing and then growing, right?
Beautiful. Any comment, Karina?
The theme that I'm really hearing is ask questions, network, get out there and meet people, learn as much as you can. You don't have to be an expert, just be familiar with what's in the landscape, and then find the people like you who can actually give advice on the technicals and really how and when do we do these things. So the key thing is really people need to ask a lot more questions.
Yes.
And
Curiosity
ideally, curiosity is the magic word for everything. It really is. And then, doing it through networking and self-education, and then also by working with people who really do have a deep expertise.
Yeah. We offer, like at File&Claim and what I do at KSO Grants, we offer free consultations. So that's actually what I do now at KSO Grants, is just free consultations, really supporting people understanding what's available to them. And if they're interested in grant writing, I help them with that. But at File&Claim, we work with companies, even if they just have an idea or, they're established and they just want to, flush out, is this an R&D project that would qualify? So we do support businesses, and we offer free consultations. And then we do quarterly check-ins with our clients too, to, make sure we're structuring the businesses so that it can maximize on the different programs. And then we're always bringing up new innovative programs that could pair well for their innovation and their growth.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. It's a free consultation, guys.
No, but I think that's from my education background, is just wanting to get that knowledge out there. Like, that's what I really enjoy. And, that's what brings like light to my life, is being able to educate and really seeing businesses take that education, turn it into action, and then be able to have their ideas, flourish into something really powerful and really meaningful. I think that brings me a lot of joy in what I do. And that reverts back to being an educator, is that I just really enjoy educating people, and I want to see these programs be utilized. Like there's funding that's left over. Like annually, every year, there's billions of dollars in the SR&ED program, money left on the table. And the question is always just why, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, lack of knowledge or that too, is that a lot of people are wanting to
Fear.
do it themselves too. You know,
Yeah.
they think, okay, I can really take on everything. But
Yeah.
I think as an entrepreneur,
It ends up costing so much more to do that. Like
Yeah.
they end up having to learn things that they don't necessarily need to learn.
yes,
They're going to make mistakes, which means they're going to
Yeah.
have that 60% success rate, which actually isn't bad. But
Yes.
compared to a 99% success rate, I'll take the 99%. Thank you.
yes,
Right. And for the
Yeah.
amount of money that they have to spend, they're actually saving themselves so much time and energy and grief,
yes,
both in the application and in fixing the problems.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So why not just get help
Yeah.
properly right from the beginning?
yes, for sure, for sure.
100%. And Karen, I'm sorry you have to finish this podcast, but before we finish, I would like to your final advice, which if there's one thing every business owner should do this week to get this funding ready, it's
Of course, it's contact me. Of course, that's the way we're going to end. But I think there's nothing wrong with having exploratory calls and putting yourself out there and, contacting myself. And we can really see where your business is, what you're currently doing. And then let's do the shred if we haven't done the shred, or let's see what other funding programs are available to you that could support, where you are and your future growth goals.
Beautiful. Any final remarks?
No, well, yes, contact the experts that you need.
Yes.
Get out and network. Be curious.
Yes.
Awesome.
Just to repeat those things. Yeah.
So, thank you everyone to enjoy this episode. I'm gonna left here in the corner a QR code with the filing claim, so you can contact them and reach them, and you're gonna have this free consult. It's a free consultation. Please do it. Come on, take action, man. But yeah, and here of course are all our social media. So follow us. Stay tuned for the next episodes. I see you in the next one. Take care.